All right, here we go. Welcome into the show. You're watching the San Francisco 49ers Report. Chase Sr. here with you. And no matter where you are or how you're tuned in, thank you so much for making today's show a part of your day. What we're getting into here, could some big moves be coming for San Francisco after they signed George Kittle, Brock Purdy, and Fred Warner to contract extensions? We're talking about more extension candidates and some free agent targets for the Niners as well. And let's begin with some of the pieces in-house for the Niners who they could hand contract extensions to. And let's start off with right tackle Colton McKivitz. And I know a lot of you see that photo, you hear that name, and you say, what, Chase? Are you being serious? Really? There's no way, no how that the 49ers are going to sign him to a contract extension. I wouldn't be so sure. The Niners really like him as one of the anchors along this offensive line at that right tackle spot. And you know that I've criticized Colton McKivitz a lot. And I've always said, not a great offensive tackle. But last year, in 2024, he was okay to good. He will never be elite. And if I'm the Niners, I would never settle for just being okay along the offensive line. But that is their philosophy as an organization. And they look at McKivitz as a solid player who's affordable, and he has positional versatility. Was he elite in 2024? No, but he definitely improved from the season prior in 2023, and we'll take a look at those numbers coming up here in just a moment. Another thought here is this. Trent Williams is old, 37 years old. He's been injured a lot in recent years. And the 49ers did not draft a single young offensive tackle in the 2025 NFL draft. There isn't a young offensive tackle on this team who the Niners could develop. And Colton McKivitz has some of that positional versatility where he could play right tackle, left tackle, and a little bit along the interior. And in 2024, look at how he ranked among the 141 offensive tackles in football. Overall grade of 72.2. That was 37th. So he's a starting caliber tackle in this league. Right along the likes of Mike McGlinchey, who also wasn't elite by any means, but the Niners really liked him. As a pass blocker, McKivitz made some strides from 2023. 72.8 grade there, that was 43rd. Run blocking grade, that's important in Kyle Shanahan's system, 68.6, that was 46th. He only gave up 2 sacks. That wasn't bad. My issue, though, the last couple of years, he has given up a ton of pressures. 36 on Brock Purdy's front side. That ranked 124th among 141 offensive tackles in 2024. In 2023, it wasn't pretty. Overall PFF grade ranked 55th at the position. Pass blocking grade ranked 91st. He was actually a better run blocker in 2023 than he was in 2024. He ranked 39th there. But again, gave up 47 pressures. That was 129th among 137 offensive tackles. One of the lowest graded offensive tackles in that category in the National Football League. And in 2024, he only gave up 2 sacks. But in 2023, first full season as a starter, 9 sacks. That ranked 131st. So he made some strides in some areas, but for me, it's just not good enough. And the real ones know, if I was running this organization, this would not be my offensive line philosophy. Kyle Shanahan, John Lynch, if you're watching the show, you want to hire me, my ears are open. I think that we could do a good job working in unison together. And I would try to beat it down into the ground that you guys have to start emphasizing the offensive line more, because games are won and lost oftentimes along the line of scrimmage and at the point of attack. And going back to how McKivitz can be affordable, here's a look at the highest paid right tackles per year in the National Football League. Penei Sewell is at $28 million, Lane Johnson at $25, Jawan Taylor at $20, Ryan Ramczyk $19.2, although he did decide to retire. That's what he was making. Mike Onwenu at $19. Then you look at all those other players. Titus Howard, Brian O'Neill, Spencer Brown, Braden Smith, Mike McGlinchey. Mike McGlinchey is a top 10 highest paid right tackle in the game. A reason why the Niners like Colton McKivitz is because he's cheap and he would never come close to cracking this top 10 list. But I'll tell you this, going into 2025, just a lot of concerns along this offensive line. Because if Trent Williams were to get hurt, who's going to be the backup? Austin Pleasance? Andre Dillard? If Colton McKivitz went down, who's going to be the backup? Spencer Burford, who's barely played tackle at the NFL level? Sebastian Gutierrez, come on now. And then at left guard, you're not sure who's going to be the starter there. At center, I don't think Jake Brendel is good enough. And Rant along the offensive line. What say you? Should the Niners extend Colton McKivitz? I want you to type yes or no down in the comments section and let me know what you're thinking on this front. A lot more to get to here on the show. But first, I do want to give a shout out to our sponsor today, making the show possible. That's our friends at Prize Picks. Get $50 when you play $5 on the best daily fantasy sports app when you go to prizepicks.com/CLNS. Ladies and gentlemen, it is daily fantasy sports made easy, and it's the best place to turn your sports knowledge into cash. It really is a no-brainer. You should really sign up because you can cash in right now on the basketball playoffs with Prize Picks. Don't miss your last chance to add your favorite players from the court to your Prize Picks lineup, whether it's points, rebounds, assists. Take your pick of more or less for your shot to win up to 2,000 times your cash today. You can also turn your playoff hot takes into tickets to basketball's championship series, starting with the play-in round, which obviously is in the rear view. Every lineup has made you involved in the game, and you can continue to be on that ride. Prize Picks, the best place to win cash while watching sports. Join millions of users and sign up today. Of course, the hockey playoffs going down as well. Here's how the game works. For instance, let's go Julius Randle, who had a good start to this series in the Western Conference Finals. More than 32.5 points, rebounds, and assists. SGA, some people call him a foul merchant. More than 44 points, rebounds, and dimes. And then Naz Reid, more than 6.5 rebounds and assists. It's as easy as 1, 2, 3. Pick more, pick less, pick Prize Picks. PrizePicks.com/CLNS. Get $50 when you play $5. Extension candidate number 2, wide receiver Jauan Jennings. This is one player who I would love to see the Niners sign, but I think Jauan Jennings might play this season out and try to cash in at a price tag after 2025 that the Niners won't be able to afford. Going into 2024, JJ signed that 2-year, $15.4 million extension. And last year, he had nearly 1,000 yards. When you're getting Jauan Jennings at under $8 million per season, that's excellent value. Last year, turned in a career-best season, 77 catches, 975 yards, and 6 touchdowns. He's entering his age 28 season. Been a really good developmental story since being a 7th-round pick in the 2020 NFL Draft out of Tennessee. He actually committed to Tennessee to play quarterback. And when in high school, he was a great basketball player. A lot of college coaches across the country thought that he was a top 200 recruit. Ends up being a really good wide receiver at Tennessee. Then he didn't even crack the 53-man roster as a rookie for San Francisco. But since he's been on the active roster starting in 2021, he has made so many strides, and it's been really fun to watch his development take place. And with him coming off a career year, the 49ers clearly really value him. I think it would be smart to extend him. But from Jauan Jennings' perspective, and I teased this just moments ago, with how robust and expensive and lucrative the wide receiver market is, if Jauan Jennings goes out there and has nearly 1,000 yards again, right now he's making less than $8 million per season, I think that he can cash in between $15 and $20 million. Is he a number one? Probably not. Can he be one of the top number 2s in football? I think so. You look at the highest paid wide receivers in the NFL, similar conversation to the one that we had with Colton McKivitz just a couple of minutes ago. Jauan Jennings is not going to crack this list. But because all of these players are making so much money, it does help out a player like Jauan Jennings and probably landing a contract between $15 and $20 million per season if he produces in 2025 like he did in 2024. 77 grabs, 975, 6 touchdowns, 113 targets. With Brandon Ayuk out, he became the number one option for Brock Purdy. And it really came out of nowhere considering how little production he had prior to that. The most catches that he had in a season was in 2022. 35 grabs for a career-high 416 yards at that time with 56 targets. Those numbers completely blow up in 2024. Why I really like him and where Jauan Jennings really excels, track record of being clutch. I mean, he has been incredible on the money downs, third down, fourth down. And he lacks speed, but he's a good route runner. He's a savvy route runner, using his long frame and his head fakes to really juke out a lot of DBs. He's also very physical, and he can use his size to go up and get it, and he's tough at the catch point to win some of those 50-50 balls, as we know too. He's a great run blocker. Excellent player for the Niners culture because he's been a great player developmental story, plays the game in such a rugged and tough way with no fear, and the Niners as an organization, they prioritize players like that. And Jennings, a lot of people might say, there's no way he's going to duplicate that success in 2025 like he did in 2024. He very well could, because there are question marks at the wide receiver position. Brandon Ayuk might miss half of the year. And so if Ayuk is out, obviously when he's in, he's wide receiver one, but let's say he misses half the year. Jauan Jennings has an opportunity to once again be wide receiver one like he was last year. Now you're hoping that Ricky Pearsall can have a big leap. I want to see what Jordan Watkins and Jacob Cowing, Tariq Owens, Isaiah Nayer, Junior Bergen, what players like that can do. But you take Ayuk out, Jauan Jennings outside of Demarcus Robinson as a pro player is the most proven player in that wide receiver room, and he is the leader of that wide receiver room. Extension candidate number 3 is Ji'Ayir Brown. Like Colton McKivitz, a lot of you might say, why would that make any sense? Well, this would be more so financial gymnastics and logistics, because Ji'Ayir Brown going into 2024, so 2 free agency periods ago, signed a 2-year, $18 million contract. And he has a cap hit of $9.5 million in 2025. He's 27 years old. He was hurt last year. If you sign him to a new deal, that new deal can lower the cap hit, and the new deal as an extension could be for cheaper than what you signed him to going into 2024. Now, my previous job, I covered Penn State, very familiar with that program. I grew up on Joe Paterno football, and so I think there's a better player in there than what Ji'Ayir Brown has been able to show. I think there's a reason why he was a second-round pick out of Penn State by the Carolina Panthers. He went to the Panthers, though. Pro Football Focus, his final season with Carolina in 2023, named him the most improved player on that Panthers defense. And I agree. But we're talking about a guy who's 6'5", 265. He has very long arms. We saw in flashes last year that he has some pop to his game, and in limited time, 4 sacks, 6 TFLs. He was a little bit disruptive. And so as a depth piece, this is a player who you might be interested in having around your organization, knowing he was hurt last year. He could play defensive tackle. He can play defensive end, has positional versatility. And if he can stay healthy, there's a lot of potential there. As for other big moves potentially for San Francisco, here are my top 5 free agent targets. And if we were to include an offensive lineman, I would include Brandon Scherff, who's made multiple Pro Bowls in his day and was a top 5 pick by the Washington Redskins many years ago before they were the football team and the Commanders. Jadeveon Clowney, Zadarius Smith, Justin Simmons, Julian Blackmon, and CJ Mosley. And some thoughts on these players. You probably have a need as far as defensive end depth. You probably want to see where Mykel Williams is and see if he can be ready to man a majority of those snaps. But if you're not confident in some of the depth pieces at defensive end, Jadeveon Clowney, I think, would be an excellent veteran addition. Now, he's been on so many teams in recent memory, and obviously that's a little bit of a concern. He's never had double-digit sacks, but he's physical. He plays the game hard. He brings an edge to your defense. He is a good scheme fit for San Francisco. He's been pretty good against the run, and he has been a good producer as far as sacks despite not having double-digit sacks. A player like Za'Darius Smith is interesting because he's been productive in recent years, and he has experience playing in the wide nine, and he's played at a high level in the wide nine. Played for the Cleveland Browns. Jim Schwartz runs the wide nine and always has. And so Za'Darius Smith could fit you there as well. Because Malik Mustafa is out, Justin Simmons could make some sense. He's a 4-time second-team All-Pro who fits the locker room, coming off a down year with Atlanta, but that Falcons defense was one of the worst in the NFL. They were last in sacks, last in sack percentage, and so that always impacts the secondary, of course, and Simmons had to learn a new system, and the defensive coordinator got fired. Julian Blackmon is a player who the Niners showed interest in going into the 2024 season. And then there's C.J. Mosley. D. Winters, Jalen Graham, Nick Martin, those are unproven players at the linebacker spot. I like the talent that they have, but they're unproven. And so what the Niners could do at defensive end, at linebacker, at a couple of different positions, see what your young players are capable of. See what that learning curve is. See what you envision their role being. And if you think you need to make a move, I think these 5 players make a lot of sense for San-FRAN-CISCO. And it would be a big move because these are obviously big names out there on the free agency market. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. My name is Chase Sr. here on the 49ers Report. We give you elite Niners coverage every single day year-round.